welcome back.
Welcome back. So the next track is all about doubles. It's called NN, and this is the track that's very much like Satie, and Emma's interpretation of it is a very personal one. Nowhere, now, here, alone together, alone to gather, the same difference, the same grief ends. I love it. Not too happy.
I'd just like to point out that Emma is a native French speaker.
Yes.
So she's writing this in, what is her second or third language?
Well, I don't know.
So, yeah, that's quite amazing.
She has a remarkable facility playing with words, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the way we play NN is actually this track was a little bit reverse engineered because she loves Satie, I love Satie, and I said to Greg that we absolutely need something that sounds like Satie because if we're going to have an album that's inspired by 20th century classical music and we don't have Satie, there will be angry people that will be contacting us. They will be in the streets. So what is a Satie piece like? There's a lot of flavors, and we've decided to focus on doubles. The scale is here. Oh, I think I missed a character. That should be a G sharp, right?
G and then a G sharp.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I should say the reference for this piece was the third Gnossienne, and that has a very kind of famous melody which consists of repeated notes. Which kind of gave me the idea to use the NN, which is an idea that Martin had right at the beginning.
Actually, I think this was Emma's idea.
Oh, was
the
it?
Double,
the
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was her idea. So what you're seeing here is the digit index, and in this region of pi, from digit 3,884 and so on, you see all the double digits that appear. Sometimes a digit will appear in the sequence of the digits as triple, but we don't care about that. We interpret this as a double. And you see these phrases. So you see a phrase of 8, you see a phrase of 2, a phrase of 6. Now we've looked through not all the double digits in pi, but from the beginning, slightly into it, and found this section that sounded Satie-like. Is that right?
Yeah, when we encoded the digits onto this scale, and I chose this scale. We're kind of starting with a minor third, A, B, C at the bottom, excuse me, and then I've just built in some chromaticism into the top of the scale, which kind of allows for just some interesting kind of flavors and sounds to kind of develop as the piece.
People are going to want to know what that word meant, chromaticism.
Chromaticism is basically a note that isn't contained within a scale, so it's outside of the scale. So typically,
like a bridging note.
Yeah, I guess so. So typically, a note, there are 12 pitches in an octave, and a scale typically consists of 7 pitches. So any of the notes that are outside of that group of 7 are considered chromatic.
Okay.
Excuse me. Cut that.
So this is the only score that fits on one, albeit large piece of paper, a tabloid size. I try to fit it in, and what you might notice is that the score is not that different in terms of the way that perhaps it looks. It's clean, just like 314. Satie wrote his scores often without bar lines. There is no time signature.
Correct.
There is no tempo.
No.
There are vague instructions to the performer in French, which Emma wrote because Satie had this. There is a very strong harmonic presence that backs up this melody of double notes. So what you're seeing here, for example, is that first phrase of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 doubles. That this last set is to be played an octave above, and because it's 2 D sharps, and then that's repeated again. So the phrases this was played 2 times, this is played 2 times. So there's a kind of a nesting,
which was one of the few times we kind of deviated from the strict interpretation of the data. So obviously these phrases are only going to happen once in the numbers, but if to stay true to the spirit of Satie, we kind of needed to build in those repeats.
That's an interesting point. So, for example, we're not paying attention to the fact that sometimes the digits appear as triples. We're interpreting them as doubles. We don't play triple notes. And we had this conversation about, well, if this digit appears triples, should we have that eighth note be 2/16? Should we somehow be faithful to the fact that that appears again? And I wanted to initially to be faithful, maybe because I'm kind of more on the mathematicals end, and Greg was against this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the really interesting confluence of the data and the musical choices that we had to make. This kind of tension and conflict, which resolved itself differently for each different piece. So, for instance, in the Feynman piece, we were very strict about the number of beats in a bar, etc., the placement of the tremolos. That had to be faithful to the data. But here, we decided after a conversation that it was probably better to be faithful to the musical idea rather than to the data.
So you'll see the instructions to the performer. The entire thing is to be played with a question, alone. Disputez-vous prudemment, argue cautiously, ask again, inquire again, no response. Notice that there's no bar rests here. It's just a sea of nothing. But the count is good. Circular argument. I love this one. It's great. We are repeating ourselves. Pair up despite everything. This is a connection to the piku, which was alone together, the same grief ends. Bittersweet. And this one is a complicated one, Tomberz sans plier, to fall for one another without folding, without giving up your own individuality.
So Martin, my question is to you. How do you think these phrases, these terms, impact the performer's performance of the music? Why are they there?
I would love to be able to answer this in a general way. I would...
If you had to guess. Well, not guess, but...
I think this is if I had to guess and I had to opine, it means that everybody gets to play this piece in their own very, very personal way. And then every time this is played by somebody else, it can sound entirely different. And it also puts you into an emotional conversation with the music. So you cannot just read the notes off a page and robotically bang out the notes, but actually put your heart on the keys and think about things. So think about the time you didn't get a response, maybe the time when things were bittersweet. And by connecting these instructions to memories, you can add a layer to the music that makes it incredibly personal.
Yeah, I think that's all. That's really all really valid. So Satie was known for being an eccentric. He didn't kind of fit into the current musical trends happening in Paris at the early 20th century. He was kind of looked down upon as a bit of an amateur by composers like Debussy, his contemporary. But here, I think he's really establishing his own kind of unique artistic voice. So for me, from my perspective, these terms, these phrases are designed to kind of engage the non-logical aspect of people's brains and to kind of put them in a different emotional space, kind of like what you were saying, that then influences the music. I think Satie is really trying to push performers, push musicians outside of their kind of habitual comfort zones.
What is the first time I saw this, I thought that there was some mistake, but of course it's just my lack of musical knowledge. Why is there a tie connecting to a rest?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure that I've seen that anywhere, but when I was writing this piece, I just wanted to give a sense of like the phrases, even though they do come to an end, that they don't come to an end, that they kind of continue on after the notes stop. This sense of like a lingeringness, I guess. So that's maybe a what's the word? A non. I can't think of the right word. What's the right word? An unusual way of indicating that to the performer, which is kind of in line with these.
So you see the 8 VAs, which save us from all the ledger lines and having these notes very high, but we still have these ledger lines in the bass, and we were discussing, should we 8 VB this in the notation, and you thought no.
I suggested not because there are 2 or 3 different pitches. And once you've established that this is an A, it kind of repeats quite often. So it's quite easy for the performer just to write E and then G.
Okay.
And these notes move much more slowly than these ones.
Now, if you look at this, if you do play the piano and you haven't played Satie before...
For sure. I just want to say this is the most playable of all of the pieces. So if you're kind of going through the videos and you're thinking, I can play a bit of piano, I might try a piece. This is probably a great place to start with.
Right, which I was going to say in terms of the actual fingering for this is do I have enough hands for this? How do I play this low note, then this chord, and then this melody? I can't reach. So what? How do we achieve that?
So the treble clef here is just the right hand. The bass clef here is kind of playing in like a bass note. And then it's moving up a couple of octaves to play.
But you have to pedal this.
Correct.
Otherwise, it won't sustain.
Yeah, there's no pedal markings.
But there's no pedal markings to help you realize this.
No, but it's very stylistically kind of apparent what the pianist needs to do. We just thought the pedal markings was just...
I couldn't figure out first time I looked at it.
Too much information.
Too much information.
So,
this is a lovely piece, and we really encourage you to listen to Satie's Gnossiennes and to give this a listen. And I think you will really enjoy how the melody, even though these are essentially randomly sampled digits, they're pi digits. There's no pattern. The melody just absolutely works.
Yeah.
Fantastic harmonization.